Are you ready?
Good news, everyone.
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great. Everybody else sucks.
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right. You're always blaming me. So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No. Burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All In Football on FTN. Code All In. Get you 20% off. That is Chris Meaney. I pointed the right way. Yes. And
You did.
On
You did.
I did. I always got to remember to go the opposite way on this because, yeah, it's reversed. Oh, you're going to give me the ET finger thing unlike before?
Yeah,
Fox had to do it
ET.
before the show.
ET.
Continuing to talk off-season ADP, rocket or docket. It's kind of the theme of this off-season. And, of course, might as well just jump right into it because we did last week's episode and we talked about the contract situation with Dalvin Cook. And it's like, hey, they've already got room to sign all their rookies and then some. And I was like, it just doesn't make logical sense to me why you move on from Dalvin Cook. But the Vikings did it. They got rid of Dalvin Cook. So to clear up cap space. I mean, I know it's more about next year and beyond because of the dead money and it lessens a little bit of what it would have been. But we're here to talk fantasy purposes. So, Meaney, so Lauren, Dalvin Cook is gone. We're saving that discussion for another day. Like everybody's connecting the dots for the Dolphins, but we sit here and go through a whole diatribe of what it means on a speculative new team, and then it might not even matter. We have to talk Alexander Mattison and the rest. I'll just get my argument out of the way real quick because usually I save it for last, but here's where I came from because I broke it down a little bit on The Athletic, but kind of more on Twitter. But I think Alexander Mattison is immediately overrated. We kind of touched on this briefly when we were saying if Dalvin Cook gets released. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the argument go both ways. The volume he's gotten when there's been no Dalvin Cook has been off the charts. Over 20 carries in a lot of those games, used in the passing game. On the flip side, the metrics are pretty terrible. Bottom 20% in a lot of things, yards per carry, touches, explosive, like all those type of things. He's not a terrible running back. I just sit here and say, I don't think it's his backfield to himself. You have Ty Chandler coming off a year where injury, rookie, second year. I actually think he profiles a little bit like Mattison, where I'm more interested in Dwayne McBride, who they drafted, which kind of tells me, Meaney, when you draft Dwayne McBride, you let Dalvin Cook go, you kind of had this plan. And what Dwayne McBride makes me feel is kind of like an Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon kind of power receiving option. I think Dwayne McBride could be the early down. I think he could be short yardage. I think this could be a 60-40 split, granted in Madison's favor, but I think Mattison as a top 15 running back is immediately sell high.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that as well. I think ultimately Minnesota does believe a little bit in Mattison. They extended him to the 2-year contract, and I think that they probably believe in some of the younger pieces that they have, like McBride, you mentioned, and Ty Chandler as another guy as well. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, this team is trying to save money. We've heard about the new regime that they have, analytical driven, and in this day and age, there's not a lot of running backs that are going to get paid. If you can cut the $9 million, $10 million off your roster, then, you can add it elsewhere because offensively this team was great, but defensively they had a lot of holes. Everybody was calling them frauds last year, despite, hardly losing any football games. It's and then they got bounced early by your Giants. But I did a best ball draft 2 hours after that news broke and it wasn't even official. And Alexander Mattison went 64th overall and Dalvin Cook went 76 overall. And then the next day, I did a draft, and Alexander Mattison went RB 15.
Okay, can I do something real quick?
The end of the third round.
I'm sorry to cut you off, and I know I want to get you in on this, Lauren, but like that you just brought up something really important. I want to pause real quick for everybody out there. I think too many people make this mistake every single year. If you're in best ball and something like this happens, like say Hopkins goes somewhere, let's say somebody gets injured in practice next week, and there's a next man up. You don't draft Mattison now in best ball. You're playing a zero-sum game because everybody who drafted before you already got Mattison in the 6th, 7th, 8th round and got the discount, where now you're playing catch up and there's no way to catch up to the discount that they got. You draft them now in the 2nd or 3rd round, you're making it actually worse on yourself. And I think too many people miss that in best ball.
No, I totally agree. I think at that point, when it was like an hour after the draft, I still think like 64th overall is fair. But yeah, to your point, like a month ago, you were getting him 100th overall. But now, again, the day after all that news broke, I did it just to see where these guys would kind of fall. And he went end of the 3rd. He went as RB15 overall. And that's pretty rich. It's pretty rich. I do have some splits that I'll share. Let Lauren touch on it as well. I think he's a decent back. I think he is going to be the lead. I think he's going to be the goal line back there. There have been some games. In fact, there's 6, using our splits tools of games where Cook wasn't on the field and he did get a majority of the touches. But yeah, I mean, this could be a straight on 60-40 once we get to like week 4 or 5. We could see somebody else overtake him because of how his inefficiency, I suppose.
Yeah, we're starting right now in the skyrocket through the moon stock up phase is what we're starting, because he was a huge discount prior to all of this news going on. And then if you believed it and you started to make some moves in order to acquire him or to get rid of Dalvin Cook, I get it. But right now we're on nothing but an upward trajectory for where he is going to go in drafts, which is far too expensive. I do agree with you, Meaney, that he is a great back. We've seen him produce. We've seen him play well when Dalvin Cook has been hurt, which has been a plethora of times. But again, it's a sustainability issue. Not that I'm saying that he's injury prone. That's not what I'm trying to throw out there. But if you want to have healthy running backs stay healthy for all 17 weeks, you kind of need to split up the workload a little bit. Now, the 60-40, I think, is a great split, but I think he's being overrated already, and that's only going to get even worse. So when you're going into your home leagues, into your bar leagues, your work leagues, whatever, just be prepared for Mattison to be going off the board anywhere around the 3rd, maybe 4th round. That's just still too expensive for me. It's just taken off like wildfire. It's not going to calm down anytime soon.
So if you were going to pivot to a discount, Lauren, I'll let you go first on this one, would you go with Dwayne McBride or would you go with Ty Chandler because Ty Chandler's the better receiver and that could bring more value?
That's going to depend on my league scoring. I hate always starting an answer off with that depends, but I did anyway. I think I wouldn't mind going. I wouldn't mind going youth here, but actually, I think I might avoid it. I think I might avoid that situation unless either one of them fell really, really well to me in the draft. And it was like,
round.
Sure.
12th round, both are there.
Yeah, okay.
They're both are going to be there around the 12th. Yeah.
That's like the rookie. I know.
Look, she's taking a rookie.
It's just the wide receivers that I don't have a ton of faith in. I do like rookie running backs. Okay, just so everybody knows. Write it down, date and time. I do. Oh, you guys are terrible. Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind taking a shot, but I'm going to avoid Alexander Mattison altogether. But if I were going to be tempted, I would take the rookie on this one just because they did just draft him. They did just get rid of Dalvin Cook, to your point that you brought up, Jake. So yeah, that's a tough one though. But yeah, I'll take McBride.
I'll probably take Chandler
Really?
as the pass catching running back. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably more upside with McBride, but I do believe that he's going to be the lead here, Mattison. These are some of the splits. Again, there's 56 games with these two guys since 2019. Actually 62 total, and just 6 out of the split. So these are 6 games where Mattison has played. It didn't happen at all really last year. Cook, for the most part, was healthy last year as a guy that has struggled to stay healthy. But 2 years ago, there were 3 games in particular where he had 20 plus touches, 25 plus opportunities. Now, 2 of those games were against Detroit. If you remember 2 years ago, they were the worst rush defense in all of football. But
made a split of Lions versus other teams.
And then I think the other one was like Seattle, which at the time they were awful as well.
Yeah, so
but his rushing attempts, Lauren, have gone from 5 to 19. His rush yards 21 to 79. The receptions 0.88 to 3.83. Receiving yards averaging 5 per game with Cook on the field, 36 per game without Cook. So he did show that he can catch a few passes as well. And then even just like fantasy points, you could see, half point setting 4 per game, 18 per game. Now, again, 6 games isn't a large sample size, and you have to go back a couple of years to see some of these massive games, but he was getting kind of utilized as a as like the Dalvin Cook. He was like the Dalvin Cook role. Like, here it is. Like, this is what Cook does. Like, touches gone from 6 to 23. But I feel like Jake, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think like he will be that lead to start, where Chandler has like a better opportunity of him like maybe being involved right away as like that third dime back for the team that
I think it's
happy.
I think Chandler's Mattison's replacement if something happens where Chandler's third and McBride has the immediate touches. I think, like I said, I like the 55-45, maybe a little too much of a split, but 60-40, as Lauren said, I'm leaning that way. Very similar to Aaron Jones and Alexander Mattison. Now, granted, Aaron Jones has finished as an RB1, but that's touchdown reliant. That's going to be volume dependent. Like, this offense could do it for him. But my biggest concern is where Aaron Jones oftentimes will stay in when they get inside the 10. A lot of times I have a little bit of concern. It might be McBride. I'm don't disagree with anything. But if you want to draft Mattison in the second or third round, if you want to wait and draft the others, Meaney, you got a little something for everybody.
I do. And yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook, honestly, as we kind of transition into this, may be one of those guys that you could take a little bit of a flyer on, because in the 7th, 8th round, wherever he goes, I think he could return value. But I think this may be the best place on earth to draft fantasy football. If you're looking for a place to draft at a vacation, the ultimate fantasy football draft can only take place in Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino want to bring your whole league to Las Vegas with the ultimate fantasy football experience giveaway. You guys got to listen to this. Bring your 12-person league for a 2-night stay at Circa Resort and have your draft from a cabana at Stadium Swim. I don't know if you guys have seen Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. It's off the strip, Old Vegas. You're going to get a limo, transportation to and from the airport to the resort, a welcome party at Legacy Club, a booth at the world's largest sports book, and more. It's a $12,000 prize package, and you can win it by visiting circalasvegas.com. You got to do it before the end of June. You can sign up there, and man, how cool would that be to bring your entire league? It's
insane.
A massive screen, pools, setups. You know, there'll be preseason football flowing, and you'll be drafting with all your league mates. So check it out. Again, circalasvegas.com.
I'm like, I'm there just for the limo. Like, let's go. And like the cabana, I got me a cabana and limo. I'm like, yes, please. I'm in.
Sign me up. I think it's a must sign up.
The one interesting thing you did bring up there too, before you told everybody about the giveaway, is Dalvin Cook. If you had, we don't know right now. Like I said, we're saving where he ends up for a discussion. But if you are drafting today, when do you take that flyer? Because I feel like if I'm in your draft, Meaney, and you're waiting until the 7th, 8th round, you're not going to get him, because I'll take a stab before that.
Yeah,
you would.
I think
you would
got
do
to
the
be
same.
thinking about him. Yeah, probably. You got to be thinking about Lauren after this 6th, no? Like, after these, like, is he in that? If he's going to be available when guys like that we talked about last week that we like the value on Cam Akers or Rashad White or Isaiah Pacheco, like, is he in that range all of a sudden?
I put him in I put him in the range with 2 sophomores, Pacheco and Dameon Pierce. Like, I put him in that range because
that's fair.
The upside is he ends up somewhere as a true lead, as he just was. The downside is he's sharing the backfield now, but he's still Dalvin Cook if he stays healthy.
And what if we went to Miami, Lauren? Like, they definitely would move on from Raheem Mostert.
Like, everybody,
like, I love this. Like, I am so
everybody wants it because
I want it so badly,
and
he looks really good in that color.
Yeah.
Just 2 things real quick. You brought up the splits with Alexander Mattison versus Dalvin Cook. If anyone has not gone to the website ftnfantasy.com, lots of ways to get there. You can just put it right in your URL. Go there. Mm-hmm. We have so many amazing tools on there, and the splits tool is one of them. You can compare player versus player, player versus team, so many different things. I use it for my research when I'm doing it. And if you use the promo code on the screen, all in, you get 20% off like premium packages. I cannot speak highly enough. We use that a lot when we're doing our shows and we're doing our research. So I'm glad you brought that splits tool up, Meaney, because that is on the website. And the second half of that is I wanted to go back real quick to talking about the whole idea of Alexander Mattison. If you're not going to be drafting him that early, I'm definitely not going to. The reason why I'm going to take the youth here is because I think he's built a little bit more like Alexander Mattison. So I am drafting McBride as an insurance policy handcuff. I am not drafting him as someone who I'm thinking I'm going to be starting all the time. This is someone which in case something happens to Mattison, I know that I got a guy that's going to get a ton of work. But if you want to draft someone, take a flyer out on them because they're going to be more maybe productive, maybe included with a separate identity from what Alexander Mattison brings to the table, aka the pass catching, then I would say go for Chandler. So I think it just depends on what it is in your roster construction, because I don't dislike either of them. I just wanted to throw that out there, Jake, after we had talked about that. So that's why I was going with McBride over the other one. But I better see Dalvin Cook in that turquoise and orange, because that is going to look real nice. And I'm into it.
Or maybe there's a lot of people out there want him in the blue and red, and maybe he can play with his brother. I just want it for the post, like when they signs, and then they can maybe on the podium together.
His
and then
fantasy
be like,
season
brothers
is
hug.
No, his fantasy season
Tommy
is
boy.
done.
No,
that would be
I was making a Tommy boy.
A great get for the Bills. But I was looking at the cap space too in the NFL. I don't know how these teams just miraculously shed all this cap space, but the Bills have $1 million, Chiefs have $1 million, so things would have to happen. But you could easily just all of a sudden, get out a Damian Harris, I think, or things like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting where Cook goes. He is favored to go to Miami according to DraftKings, and I think he talked about Miami in his Instagram story. I'm not 100% there, but I think I heard that.
I gotta tell you, there's a few places where also, if you are in Dynasty or you have off-season trades and redraft and you're holding on to a Tony Pollard, or you drafted A-Chain, or you have there's a certain, even James Cook, there's a few, I'd be trying to get people. Could you imagine if he went to the Cowboys for cheap?
I could see that. I honestly could see that. I said it yesterday on Mean Streets.
The Pollard people would just be the rivers would be flowing with tears.
Oh my goodness.
It would.
Yeah. The whole fantasy community, we'd have to check on all of them because everyone loves Tony Pollard. They are obsessed with Tony Pollard. Nobody cares that he's coming off a broken fibula. Nobody's questioning if he can handle, 20 plus touches, if he could be a goal line back, if he can pass protect, protect Dak like Z could. Just a lock. That's it. He's a lock and loaded top 10 running back. Nobody has any concerns. But from a real life standpoint, we've talked about this so many times on the show. How great would it be for the Cowboys, honestly, to get Dalvin Cook and to have that 1-2 punch?
Before I phrase this as in as of today, because I know the as of today, because of that uncertainty, is going to lead one way. So let me say it this way, Meaney. If you knew Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, and Zeke were not coming to the Cowboys, they're not. This is the Cowboys backfield as it is as of today. Pass catcher, and then Malik Davis, rookie pass catcher, by the way, and then Malik Davis is all that's behind Pollard. Today, do you take Tony Pollard or Nick Chubb?
I take Nick Chubb. You guys know that. I'm obsessed.
Lauren?
Are you kidding me?
Pollard
has a walking 1,400 yards.
But I'm gonna take Tony Pollard.
That's what I say.
I love Nick Chubb too, but I'm gonna go Pollard. It's hard though.
It's interesting.
They're both great.
Well, let's go back to Alexander Mattison. There's something else, Meaney, so Mattison versus a lot of other before set you up for that nice little promo. There's something else we could do with Mattison. We could figure out versus who they.
What could we do?
Oh my gosh!
I don't know.
We should make a list.
There you go. Lauren did it pretty good.
That was nice. Yeah, that was well done.
See, I wanted to do a slightly different than what it normally sounds like, just because I don't want to be mimicking anybody else, but I needed to throw a shout in there. I'm still working on it. I tried in the bathroom mirror a few times over the week. It didn't really quite go well. In fact, my dog just thought I was mad. So I've been working on it.
This wasn't aggressive. Bloody Mary, Chris Jericho didn't come out of the mirror and try to kill him.
No, my dog just sat there and Ellie was just watching me
you just made the list 3 times in your mirror and see if Chris Jericho shows up.
Oh no. I was trying to get really excited about it, and I came out shouting.
Then let's do.
I'm going to be terrible at this for the rest of the show.
No, that was great.
Alexander Mattison or Aaron Jones? Lauren.
Aaron Jones.
Oh, Meaney can't go first. I just didn't make the list. Make Meaney go first.
He said Aaron Jones. So I
just ignored you like I normally do. I'm gonna go Aaron Jones. I'm kidding.
Aaron Jones.
I don't ignore you.
I know.
Alexander Mattison or rookie Jahmyr Gibbs?
Man, I think Gibbs is going way too early in drafts, but I will lean with the talent and the rookie. Yeah.
Both going Gibbs. Okay. Alexander Mattison or another one who's still on. Well, now he's still on his team. Dalvin Cook is not. Joe Mixon or Alexander Mattison.
Mattison.
Ooh. I'm going to go Mixon. He's still in the squad.
Well.
He's still there.
He's still on the
Catch 50
Bengals.
passes. Yeah.
Still
top
there.
5 offense.
Still. Alexander Mattison, or somebody who's seen a very cooling of his ADP because of a lot of people talking on Twitter, including I've seen Meaney even talk about it because we just did last week and talked Tank Bigsby, Alexander Mattison, or Travis Etienne.
Ooh. Lauren, you're first.
Oh, Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I'm going to lean ETN as well. I
Didn't
have
feel
concerns,
good as I said it, though. It didn't feel
but I'm
going to
lean with ETN.
That's one
Jake,
of those
I
when
think
you're...
you're on the fence here. I feel like you're a little uneasy about that.
Yeah, when you're drafting.
I probably don't want
this
either.
is a hard one.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
At their
I don't
cost,
want either.
I don't want either. I don't want either.
If you're making me
actually,
choose.
I'm lower on both than most. So I don't want either. How about Miles Sanders or Madison? You know where I am. I'm Alexander. I'm all Miles Sanders. I know Lauren's not because she hates Miles Sanders more than like I don't know.
Yeah, she really
5 days old, rotten
Such a
eggs
gross
sitting on the counter.
exaggeration. I am actually going to surprise y'all. I am going to take Miles Sanders here over Alexander Mattison.
I mean, I'm with you.
I know
Yeah.
you're team Miles. All right, then let's go
Yeah,
down a little bit.
team
Alexander
Miles.
Mattison or the bulked up, which by the way is that time of the season. If it's not,
Me?
we're talking bulked up guys. By the way, Daniel Ballinger for the Giants. Like,
Oh my
crap,
goodness.
did that
Yeah.
dude get shredded this year? But anyway, if anything happens to something to Darren Waller. But the other bulked up, Cam Akers looking bulked up for the Rams. Alexander Mattison or Cam Akers? Meaney, it's your turn to go first.
I'm Cam Akers. I'm Team Akers. I'm team that whole range. Like we can maybe other guys, but I'm Akers. I'm going Cam Akers there.
I'm going to lean Alexander Mattison, but I could be swayed to Cam Akers, but I'm going to go Alexander Mattison.
It's like a toss-up for me, and I don't know if I should be more on board with Cam Akers because he burned me so much last year in the entire fantasy world. Like, I don't know if there's a little bit of bitterness. I don't know that's left over there. All right, two
One
more.
thing's for certain, Jake, is that you're going to be able to get Cam Akers in the 7th, and you're not going to be able to get Alexander Mattison in the 7th.
That's true. That is true. That
I know we always say like
let's
not
if they're even
compare
close,
draft
2 round
spots, but
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 round difference.
Maybe
for
even
sure.
I think it's appropriate to compare draft spots in this particular situation, though. When you're talking about almost
fair.
the same amount of risk that is inherent in both of those players, not exactly the same, but it's kind of, I could say they're proportionate to one another. You're talking about a difference of several rounds in a draft. And I think that does involve heavily on which way that you're going to want to lean. So I think it's appropriate to bring up in this context.
No, I've seen some best ball talk. I've seen talk that Tyler Lockett's going 3 rounds later than DK Metcalf right now. And why?
That's
Like,
why?
crazy, too.
Like, we can
I
make
love
an
Tyler
argument all day
Lockett.
long that they should be neck and neck if you want, but that type of this is where you make up for best ball. This is where you get those
Lockett.
values. All right, Hot Locket. I like that. That's what's his face? Jim Gaffigan.
Jim Gaffigan. Yeah, kind of combination of that. Jason Moore, Hot Pocket, Hot Locket. It's very easy. It just rolls off the tongue.
A Hot Pocket.
Caliente Locket.
The vegetarian Hot Pocket. Take it
Flush
out of the wrapper and
Locket.
put it directly into the toilet. Hot Pocket.
Yeah,
Hot
flush
Pocket.
pocket. It's the flush pocket.
Flush Pocket. All right.
Remove from sleeve, insert directly in toilet.
See, there you go.
Flush pocket.
All right. 2 more. Rashad White or Alexander Mattison, Lauren?
Oh, I'm gonna go Rashad White.
Maybe.
I am too. Like I just keep.
5.
I just feel like I'm going to have a lot of shares of Akers and Pacheco and White
Rashad
because
White.
of where they're going in drafts. Like
I know. Team this side of the screen. Go me.
one thing we're questioning if Madison's going to get all these touches. I don't question that with Rashad White. Like he's getting
I
those
don't
touches.
either. But the fact that there's these 3, Dalvin Cook, Zeke, Fournette still there, and then Kareem Hunt, I just feel like one of them's falling into Tampa Bay. Like that.
I don't think, man. I think that
I
they're
hope.
just
No. I
trapped.
hope. I
For
hope.
money.
I hope they're trapped, and I hope they're like.
Yeah.
But man, I just feel like there's that. You look behind them, and it's just like, man, there's a void right here.
Well, those guys are definitely going to have teams.
And the
So-
fact that Sean Tucker's still not practicing, they haven't even said why. Like we know he had the injury concerns otherwise, but all right, last one. Pacheco or Alexander Mattison, Meaney.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Pacheco again. I just like linked to arguably the best offense. I know he's not gonna catch any passes really out of the backfield, but into year 2 here with Andy Reid and with Patrick Mahomes, understanding the playbook, coming on strong last year, having to deal with CEH and McKinnon as like a 7th round back. Now he's coming in as the lead. I don't believe CEH is going to be a factor at all. So I'll just lean with the back that is going to be linked to the best offense in football, most likely. I'm going Pacheco.
Did Jerick McKinnon leave that I'm not aware of?
Catch some passes.
He's so annoyingly involved. Like, I think this
Inside
is
the red
almost the
zone,
exact same situation. I think he's going to be taking a ton of touchdowns from Isaiah Pacheco. He's just going to be annoyingly there constantly. I'm going to go Alexander Mattison here. I think it's almost the exact same situation. Jeez Louise, that's tough though. You know what? I lied. I'm going to go Pacheco. I'm going to stick. I am going to do it. I'm going to go Pacheco. I'm going to lean with the more explosive offense in this particular situation. But God, that's so similar to me. And that is mean.
That's it. That is. Look, for all intents and purposes on this, we barely have Alexander Mattison as a top 24 running back.
That's what I mean. Like he's in the 20s.
Top 15 ADP if you only look at the past, basically since Dalvin Cook. Would you guys take Dalvin Cook or Alexander Mattison as of today, not knowing where Cook is? Like if you were on that's interesting.
It is interesting. I'd probably lean Madison, and it's crazy to say. I have a really uneasy feeling in my stomach when I say it because Cook is like so much better than Alexander Mattison. Like he is a really good running back in the league. But I would lean with
Dalvin Cook.
The opportunity.
It kind of feels like what you're like kind of one of those open tickets. Which, by the way, speaking of which,
I don't think he's going to be homeless though.
Congrats to the parlay, dude. Did you see that? The guy bet $100 on Argentina, the Chiefs, really? And the Nuggets. Did you see that?
No. I did see your tweet.
These things though.
Yeah,
I don't know how they do it.
100 into like what was it, 80, somewhere around 80,000 or something like that.
There was somebody in our Discord channel at FTN that had like 3 of the 4. I think they didn't get the hockey right, but they had like just like a U.S. Open winner. I think or like John Rahm to win the Masters, and then I believe like the NCAA tournament winning team, and then something else. It's like I'm so impressed when these people are able to nail like 3 or 4 championships or 4 or 4. It's like, my goodness, wow.
I know 8,000 to 1 is a huge, but I still feel like picking 3 champions.
Yeah,
and especially when one was the Nuggets, which I think alone were like 500 to 1 or something like that. Like I feel like that should be even more. I know it's a crazy. You went from $100 to 80,000, but still, like I feel like this should be even more than that.
Well done.
A little bit of piece of news too, and because people are still drafting best balls, et cetera, et cetera. Saquon Barkley, we're getting the news. A lot of interviews over the past 2 days is that he's floating out the "I'll hold out," which, let's be honest, means nothing. Like the only one that really do it was Le'Veon Bell, and that didn't even work out great for him. We know the NFL and teams have a stranglehold over this situation. He just wants to be paid respectively. So I will start with this, and it's the same thing I said on Twitter. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. Like we can sit here and understand that elite level running backs do stuff for teams. They make teams better. At the same time, we can also say we understand that if a talent difference is very small, if they're same tier level, like let's talk Alexander Mattison, he gets hurt, Ty Chandler steps up. Replaceable running backs, we get it. That's why it's devalued in the NFL. So you can have the Barkley deserves money and respect and still say, well, running backs are devalued and overpaid. You can have both. But for fantasy purposes, not knowing what's going on with Barkley as of today, Meaney, we expect like he's going to play. We've seen a lot of running backs go through this. He might even get a contract. To hold out for part or even fully the year, probably not going to happen just because he's still going to get $10 million. They've already been franchised. He's getting $10 million. He's not going to throw away $10 million. So do you sit with me and say like, look, he's going to play. I'll still take him as a top 5 running back. Or do you say, you know what, there's still a little bit of enough risk that maybe he holds out for 4 weeks, potentially, maybe the entire offseason. I go back to something that Mike Tomlin said years ago, where it said there's a difference between NFL shape and like just being physically in shape, because there's because there's 2 different things. So do you still take Barkley top 5 running back as of today if you're drafting?
I do. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you that I think he is going to play. He's clearly frustrated. He wants to get paid. You know, he mentioned also like Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard as 2 guys that didn't get paid in the offseason and got franchise tagged as well. You know, I think he's definitely so important to what this Giants team is. And like, he just came off a full season where he's healthy and he was the heartbeat, I thought, of the entire squad. And this offense has improved. They would be a bottom 5 team without Saquon. Like, don't tell me that you can displace who Eric Gray or anybody else that they
Daniel
have on
Jones
that
isn't
roster.
Daniel Jones without Saquon Barkley.
No, it opens up so much for Daniel Jones as well. Over 700 rushing yards last year, just had his best season ever in the NFL in terms of completion percentage. And I know Brian Dable had a lot to do with that, but ultimately, they didn't have a lot of pass catching options there. Like nothing really all that appealing last year. The heartbeat was Saquon. I kind of feel like he has a little bit of leverage because of that. But I don't think he'll stay on the sidelines. I think maybe a lot of people learned from Le'Veon Bell when he stayed on the sidelines, and that he just was nowhere near the same type of running back after that entire year off. So I think, from Barkley's standpoint, he wants to be on the field. He wants to be with the team. I get his frustrations, but I still view him as a top 5 back. In fact, I have him like RB3 after Eckler. Him and Taylor are kind of in that tier for me. So I have no issues drafting him at this moment. And I hope that they can come to an agreement, because it's tough to see this over the course of the NFL. Like, it's tough. These running backs they have it worse than everybody in the league. Like, they get smacked all the time when they carry the rock. They're getting hit. And I understand, again, we just talked about Minnesota, like the analytical standpoint. Nobody wants to pay all these running backs, but they do deserve to get paid. And I hope that they can work on an agreement. But I think he'll be full go all year. I think he'll be ready to go week 1.
I'm in the same boat with you, Chris. It's difficult for me to foresee the future without Saquon Barkley playing week 1, as opposed to holding out like a Le'Veon Bell situation did. He's a crazy good team player. So I think that for the sake of winning and what they're trying to do with that offense, I think he'll play week 1 is what I mean, obviously.
Just pay him too, also.
Yeah, I think somebody floated out there 3 years, $30 million.
Yeah,
there you go. I think he would be too. He runs into almost a 30-year-old season, and it's just decent. You're getting your $10 million slapped on for 3 years. It's more guaranteed money than a lot of running backs end up getting at 26, 27 years old. But one last bit of news. This one's just very small. James Robinson got let go, injuries. That's supposedly the reason behind it for the Patriots, which maybe the question is, Rhamondre Stevenson still a value as RB10/11, Lauren, or is this the Patriots stink that's making people hesitant of trusting anybody in that backfield, let alone Mac Jones and that offense struggling?
Yeah.
Yes. Can I say both of those? I think Rhamondre Stevenson can be considered a value. I don't mind that. What position? What's his ADP? I don't have it right in front of me.
Roughly RB10.
Right in front of Najee Harris.
It's like a mid-second, late second.
I'm taking, I want to take Rhamondre Stevenson, but I'm still taking Najee Harris over him.
Me too.
That's crazy.
I think as a show, we have Najee ranked aggressively compared to other people in the industry.
Yeah, I think I would still take Najee Harris over Rhamondre Stevenson, but I don't mind that. I think it feels a little rich for me for some reason. I think because of the crappy Patriots. I think that's why I'm like, wow, that's early. It's weird. But
they're both top 10 backs for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Well,
not sold on it.
The Pats do stink, though. Let's be honest about that.
Yes.
At the start of last season, I saw on Twitter and a lot of people talking about which Patriots wide receiver to draft, which one of these guys, and the answer can be nobody. That was last year. This year, I don't know. Thornton could maybe break out. Juju's probably got a decent floor in the slot. Can he catch 80 balls? But this offense is going to be awful all year long. But we know that Belichick is he wants to run the ball, and I think Rhamondre, whether he's going to be super efficient or not, or touchdowns, Jake, he's probably going to touch the ball 20 times a game. He proved that he can pass protect, and he proved that he's a hell of a pass catcher as well. And he may lead this team in catches. He may get 55 catches, and he may lead the Patriots in catches.
That's so sad. I'm sorry.
It is, but it's possible.
I was going to bring that up. So after the first 2 weeks last year, Damian Harris was more of a factor than just the first 2 weeks. But the first 2 weeks, Rhamondre Stevenson, 10 touches and 10 touches. He had 8 and 2 and 9 and 1. After that, you're looking at essentially around 15 plus for most of the season. Even one of his worst games against Minnesota rushing the ball, he had 7 carries, but he had 9 receptions. His worst game of the year was the Arizona game, where they just blew them out, and then kind of a little catch up there. And then the Cincinnati-Miami game late in the year. But essentially of that entire season, if you skip past week 1 and 2, again, when they started to use him more in the fashion that they did, 3 double-digit games. It was Arizona, Cincinnati, Miami at the end of the year. outside of that, it was at least 11 plus every single game, which is why I bring up like maybe there's still some value there. I think having them there in that Harris conversation where there's offensive concerns, but the volume, we could be talking about even more touches this year, like a 300 plus. I still lean Najee Harris because part of it was injury too last year, but we talked about it a lot. But one more time, meaning because we got to remind people of like, hey, if you want to go Stevenson over Harris, or if you don't want to take either of them and you want to play the 0 RB game that people do, remind them of that giveaway.
Yes. In case you guys missed the first part, I actually kind of undersold him. I didn't realize that he caught 69 passes last year, 9 games, at least 4 catches. There was like a good 6-week straight stretch where he was leading the Patriots in catches. So head to Las Vegas, have a time by the pool, watch massive screens of sports, maybe a little side gamble on the side, and decide if you want to draft Rhamondre Stevenson or not. The ultimate fantasy football draft can only take place in Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino, they want to bring you and your entire fantasy football league to Vegas with the ultimate fantasy football experience giveaway, $12K in prizes, a 2-night stay at Circa. Have your draft at Stadium Swim, plus multiple parties for you and your league around Circa. Head to circalasvegas.com for more info and sign up June 30th. They're going to take care of you for sure over at Circa. Your league will draft from a cabana, which Lauren loves, at Stadium Swim with $5,000 food and beverage credit. The 2-night stay for you and your entire league. 6 rooms, 2 king beds. Are you kidding me? Check it out and sign up by June 30th. Yeah, 2 king beds. 2.
All right.
2.
Wow. I know.
Am
I the only one that every time you hear Cabana, you just think Pina Colada song?
I do.
Is that just me? Like,
I'm with you.
It just immediately pops into my head.
I think any type of alcohol, because that's usually where I'm at after consuming beverages the next day.
Pass out on the cabana.
Yep.
Cabana.
Shade. Like, yeah, everything's good.
Let's get back to Tampa Bay, but for wide receiver wise, because we are going to talk some wide receivers today for the rest of the show. The ADP, interestingly enough, because we don't know the quarterback as of today, there's assumptions it's Baker Mayfield. There's still been the doors open for Kyler Trask. Whatever you might think of this team and whether or not they're just tanking for hopefully Caleb Williams, similar to some other teams out there. Chris Evans, I combined them. Chris Godwin and Mike. Yeah, Chris Evans is playing football now. By
you
the
combined
way.
him in the Captain America, though. Is that like something
running
we
back.
should be
Running back
anywhere.
Captain America, running back / wide receiver of Mike Evans. Is this like the greatest football player of all time? Captain America, running back, wide receiver combination of these 4?
Oh my goodness!
4 humans essentially.
Literally, one of them's a superhero. His name is Mike Evans.
Franchise tag him.
Franchise tag him.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Mike Evans, clearly touchdown dependent. I think people forgot last year, or even like if you look at him, you're like, oh God, Mike Evans finished top 15 again. And then you're like, wait a second. That almost wasn't even close to happening until that game at the end of the season when he caught 3 touchdowns and with Tom Brady was like, hey, you're getting your bonus. Here we go. He was outside the top 20 before that game. People like Mike Evans was having it rough last year. And that one game made the big difference. Chris Godwin looks like he could be more adaptable to whatever quarterback might be under center. But as of today, there's a 2-part question here, Meaney. So try not to skip past one because you're not supposed to shotgun questions. That's a journalistic thing. But Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are either or both undervalued. And then the second part is because we don't know the quarterback situation and we at least know it's not Tom Brady, do you go Evans or Godwin? Because Evans is clearly the touchdown maker. But again, I brought up the fact that Godwin is more adaptable. Which would you go with? Yeah.
In that week 17 game, Evans had 43.7 fantasy points. 43.
Look at his game log.
You can look at his game log. 6.5, 7.9, 4.1. These are fantasy points in a half point setting. 7.9, 6.4, 10.8, 4.4, 43. Boom. Like 43 is remarkable. It's crazy talk. He's too boomer bust for me. He was too boomer bust.
Do you know what the percentage was? Do you know what
of his fantasy points?
26% in one game.
I was gonna say
more than a quarter of his fantasy production in one game.
That's wild to me.
So I think I know the answer. It's
Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin.
But are they both undervalued?
I do believe that Mike Evans is undervalued.
Let
He's
me give you
going
their
roughly
ADP
wide
real
receiver
quick.
35, I think. 35, 36.
So yeah, I've got 32 on Mike Evans. Again, it depends on what site you're drafting on. So you got 32 on Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin is going right at 29.
Oh my goodness. Godwin for sure. I have him like low 20s. I think he's a back end wide receiver too, because what you said, he's more adaptable for whatever quarterback he plays in the slot. Like it's an easy completion for these guys, like whether it's Baker, whether it's Trask. He's a great runner. He's got great hands. Where
Or I want
Evans
to play devil's
is-
advocate real quick.
Go ahead.
DJ Moore, and he only catches 2 or 3 touchdowns with the new quarterback, and Mike Evans still gets 7 or 8.
I could see that. I could see Chris Godwin catching 80 balls and having 5 touchdowns. I could see Mike Evans catching 50 balls with 12
8
touchdowns.
touchdowns? 12.
Maybe
12.
I was
I'll take
aggressive
the
with
under
12. Yeah, for sure. He had
Let me rephrase that
he's
one.
had 1,000 yards in all 9 of his seasons. He was so boomer bust with Tom Brady that how can I not think he's going to be boomer bust with these quarterbacks? He always has a high ADOT. Like air yards are there. They're going to take shots from deep down the field, but is there going to be a disconnect? Like just because he's getting those shots deep down the field doesn't mean he's going to reel all those in. I mean, you can go back to Teddy Bridgewater when, I don't know, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, like the minutes that they spent together in Denver. I remember thinking about high ADOTs and air yards, but these are all uncatchable passes. And also on the flip side, they are going to be chucking because they're not going to be a great team. And there are a lot of loaded teams around the NFL. So I'm a little bit split on Evans. I wanted to like view him as a bust, but the fact that he's going is, you know, in the 30s in round, nobody wants this guy. You always talk, Jake, about building your roster with not a lot of, you know, boomer bust guys, like have some floors. If you just get Evans as your 4th wide receiver and you're going to plug him in as your wide receiver 3 or as your flex, I think that's okay, actually. We're not drafting him now as a wide receiver 2. You don't have to deal with that. So I'm starting to come around on both of these guys being values, but I think the one guy that I feel most confident in is Chris Godwin in his ability. And it's got to be Kyle Trask. It can't be Baker.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. I mean, just what you were referring to, the ADOT is the average depth of target. That doesn't say like, to me, that's Baker Mayfield's forte. Is it Kyle Trask forte? Like, you know, like, I think the volume, the short passes, I think that just screams Chris Godwin to me. But you do bring up a really good point about you can possibly get Mike Evans super duper late. But I've been burned by that young man last year because I had so many sit questions from people. And I'm like, it's Mike Evans. You got to start him. You got to start him. You got to start him. Finally, after 15 weeks of just getting absolutely obliterated, except for 1 double-digit point game and half PPR scoring, he gets 43 points and everyone
He
benched
won you
him.
your consolation championship is what he did.
Exactly. Because you didn't make
With
it in the
Cam
playoffs with him. It's just, it's so frustrating. If you want to bring on the frustration of having to deal with someone like this in this situation, then I think this is a great value. He's totally undervalued for what he's capable of doing, but will that come to fruition this year with question marks at quarterback, with other options that might be a little bit safer to move the chains and get into scoring position? I don't know. I think I'm going to avoid Mike Evans if I can, and go with Chris Godwin. Even if he's a super great steal, I think I might want to try a flyer or something somewhere else. It's so frustrating having to try to deal with that. Ugh.
Here's the interesting thing too, is
Gross
let's also
offense.
remember, I just double checked because I want to make sure I was right. And he has, Mike Evans turns 30 in August. Mike Evans is also a 6'5" wide receiver who turns 30 in August. And we've seen the drop off. 30 is arbitrary to a degree, but we've seen the drop off as they get older. Wide receivers of his size tend to break down a little bit more, especially in the legs. So just
we've seen some hamstring injuries from him over the past few years as well.
It's just a lot of pressure on those things. By the way, I appreciate that Jiggles brought it up. The Pina Colada song it's actually a redemptive thing. The whole thing is like they're bored of each other and he's trying to find some, and then they find out, like, people listen to the lyrics at the end, they actually find out they have more in common. And they kind of potentially get back together. It's unclear, but it's not as bad as people think it is. People are like, oh, he wants to move on from his girl, but it's actually kind of a little bit more. But anyway, so just to bring that up, I appreciate Jiggles pointing that out. Not a lot of people realize that. There's a lot of
also
weird songs out there.
Great call out. Love it.
Yeah.
But are you Team Evans or Chris Godwin? I need to hear from Jake Ciely. The people need to hear from Olin Kidd.
Yeah, the people want to know.
Team Godwin or Team Evans?
Chris.
You're Chris Evans.
I'm Chris Evans.
Where's Chris
I
Evans
love-
ranking your overall?
I love
ranking?
America's
One
ass.
overall, really?
Just so you know, because it's a great ass. Actually, I do hope Chris Evans comes back. What are we shaking your head for, Lauren? You didn't watch the Avengers?
Yes, I did.
All
It
their
was
movies?
just it caught me by surprise. That's it.
So I think both are good values where they're going. If I was forced to pick one for the surety, I will take Chris Godwin. If I want to take the flyer of like who could finish top 10, surprisingly, I still think it's Mike Evans over Chris Godwin. I think Mike Evans still has this higher ceiling, by far the further bust potential. But I think that, again, go to roster construction, I think that's what it comes down to. Because both these guys are probably going to be your wide receiver 3. So if you went, like Jamar Chase and Amon St. Brown, and you're like, dude, I got 2 studs. Let me go for the highest possible ceiling. I could see taking a Mike Evans.
like that.
If you went Jamar Chase and Waddle, and now you have like injury risk, then like maybe Chris Godwin route. So that's kind of how I would play it.
That's fair.
Does it make sense? It kind of Lauren straddled the fence a little bit there. It's like, I hate to be, it depends, but we did it. We all did.
I do that all the time. And you're like, oh, you have to be one way or the other. But no, you can get around it, my friend. See, look, you're learning. Well done. I'm proud of you.
No, I think it's fair to like walk that out, right? It's something that we talk about all the time, like roster construction. You can make a case for all these dudes that we're talking about.
Did you say
like, they're all
walk
in
it
the
out,
NFL.
walk it out,
Walk it out, walk it out, right? Isn't yeah?
That's how I walk around my neighborhood is like this.
Just with that
Head
song
bobbing.
Before we get out of here, one last one. I
My
have
neighbors love me.
my yearly breakout series starting on the Athletic. I do quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. The next breakouts, I rank the top 5. Quarterback is kind of more of like, here's the candidates and here's my pick, because it's honestly, if you eliminate rookies, because I say you have nothing to break out from, you can argue. I'm not going to sit here and go like, you're wrong. You can't have a breakout rookie. Like, if you want to break out rookies, that's fine. Like, but I go by that. You have to, previous. And then you eliminate Hurts, Fields, like all these guys. Even Trevor Lawrence broke it. Trevor Lawrence was a top 10 quarterback where like he could break out more, but he already broke out. The problem is once you eliminate that and you're talking about quarterbacks with histories, rookies, and breakouts already, you're left with only like 5 quarterbacks. So it's like kind of like these are the 5 remaining. Anyway, I bring that up to say I'm going to talk about Desmond Ridder in that column, but I want to talk about his wide receiver, Drake London. We know Drake London, the talent. We know Drake London, what he could be on most teams. The question is, what can Desmond Ridder do for you? And what has Desmond Ridder done at the end of last season? Is it enough to give you confidence in Drake London? Lauren, Drake London versus both Buccaneers wide receivers. Where
Chris
would you
Godwin.
go? Chris Godwin. Would you take London over Mike Evans?
I would. Yes.
Okay. So would you say Drake London is a top 25, just ballparking, top 25 wide receiver for you in 2023?
I believe he can make it. Yeah, I think I can see that.
He's still young, though.
I agree.
He's not a rookie. He's not.
Exactly. So ergo, I love him.
He's a sophomore.
Number 1 wide receiver
sophomores.
overall.
Team sophomore step. Follow her at sophomore Lauren. Actually, don't. That might get dicey.
Yeah,
that might be dicey.
It's...
That might be dicier than going to stepmom Lauren.
Oh no, I've pushed her to like page 3. All right, it's all me now, so don't worry about it. But yeah, sophomore Lauren may not work. I would suggest not doing that.
Meanie.
Man, the end of London's season was pretty good. I know that there was no Kyle Pitts there. It's not like Kyle Pitts was like getting a lot of targets anyways. But when they made that switch to Ridder, to your point, I know you're going to bring it up in the article. Like it was night and day. I mean, 6 catches for 12 targets, 95, 7 for 70, 7 for 96, 5 for 47, 6 for $120. Like he was getting targets. This is definitely a run first team, but they have a lot of holes defensively. They're going to have to throw the football to keep up in some of their games. So I think London is definitely can come as a top 25 wide receiver.
And
I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen just a little bit. You said top. You definitely top 25. I got it. As you see, completely black. Screw it. There we go. Back. It's good timing. We're about to get out of here real quick.
I think I maybe had too many.
Who do you think had more fantasy points last year without looking? Drake London or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Drake London.
What'd you say, Meanie?
I said Drake London.
It was actually Juju Smith-Schuster, barely.
TikTok boy? Come on.
Oh, come on.
Drake London was actually neck and neck. He was sandwiched between Boyd and Donovan Peoples-Jones for what his season was like.
Sneaky. I like that.
So for next week, we're going to do more wide receivers, talk about the Jaguars, Marquise Brown. We still haven't talked about a ton since it's DeAndre Hopkins. We kind of broke it down a little bit, but kind of get his overall value and more. Make sure you go to FTN, code all in, get you 20% off. You can check out Meaney stuff. You can follow Stepmom Lauren at Stepmom Lauren. And over at The Athletic, the discount is cut. Don't sign up yet. Did I just say that? Yes, because the best deal ever is coming back. If you know what the best deal ever was, yes, it's cut. Yeah, Meaney knows what it is. It is the cost of now a Chick-fil-A meal, which starts at $10 all of a sudden. So with tax, you'll be able to get The Athletic for a year. So we'll be back next Tuesday. I'll see you guys later.
All of a sudden, very hungry. Cheers.